Cyberpunk 2077 is an absolute beautiful mess, but whatever you do, don't tell Reddit that. We take the role of V. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, V is your name. And what does it stand for? It's not important, but it's definitely not virgin. It's an action role-playing game brought to us eventually by CD Projekt Red. You might remember them from such wonders as the Witcher series, which gets mentioned a lot on this channel. Teased for us for literally years with the addition of the internet's favourite boyfriend Keanu Reeves jumping on board, Cyberpunk was finally dolloped onto our plates in 2020, and it was an absolute mess. It still is an absolute mess, but back then it was really broken. So after giving it a few years to, well, get sorted as best as it could, it's finally time that we have a look at the 5 worst trophies in Cyberpunk 2077. If you're new here and are an avid PlayStation trophy hunter, then why not subscribe? We do this kind of thing quite often, and if you're a returning viewer, then welcome back. I hope you had a lovely time doing whatever it is you've been up to. As always, before we get into it, just a few housekeeping things. This list is in no real order, apart from we do try and save the worst till last. A hard trophy doesn't necessarily make for a bad trophy, and we have to look at the whole process when putting the trophies on the wall of shame. With that being said, let's have a look at our first culprit for today's video. First up, we have a trophy type that I absolutely cannot stand, and this isn't a Cyberpunk specific problem. Games do tend to do this for some reason. I'm of course talking about the Gunslinger trophy. You've got to shoot an enemy grenade while it's in the air, but with a revolver. Sure, it sounds sick, but it's one of them trophies that kind of dictates the way that you play the game. At least it did with me for a little while. Now look, I don't like handguns and revolvers in this game. I don't like handguns and revolvers in most games, I just don't get on with them. Or apart from Skippy. Skippy was actually pretty cool.
Error. Premature discharge. I'm sorry. This never happens.
Now, getting enemies to throw the grenade isn't really the problem. It seems that that is their first course of action should they know generally where you are. So the problem comes from the actual shooting of the grenade. I played Cyberpunk for a little while on the higher difficulties to make it more realistic, I suppose. So having to focus on shooting a grenade that is in the air whilst having an army of scav things shoot at you, it can be rather challenging because you don't get much health. There is a selection of grenades that they can throw at you, and the good news for you is it doesn't really make a difference which one it is as long as you hit it mid-air with a revolver. Now, it's one of them trophies where you can get it just by being lucky, but that just wasn't the case for me. I had to purposely try for what felt like way too long to perform this FaZe Clan trick shot. I'm not going to lie though, getting it did make me feel a little bit badass, and even though the journey was long and tedious, the results somewhat made up for it. It gave me an extra 3 inches, if you get my drift, and a bronze trophy for my troubles. Must Be Rats is up next on the list. A rather easy one to get in all fairness. All we have to do is use the distract enemy hack 30 times. Now you can even use this on the same enemy 30 times if you have the patience. So why did I stick it on the list if it's so easy? Well, for me personally, I never really used this hack at all. It's not all that useful, seeing as no matter how hard you distract an enemy, they will always turn their attention to you more or less straight away, even when distracted. For that reason, I mainly used other methods of distracting enemies, and because of this, I found myself doing this at the end of the game just to meet a quota. You see how dull this is? Don't forget this was just my way of playing the game. You might want to go for a super stealthy run where you're an invisible ninja named Bert. If that's the case, then I'd imagine being able to distract enemies from a distance might come in handy for you. Again, it goes back to forcing you to play in a certain way. Role-playing games shouldn't do that. Ever, even for trophies, but that's just my humble opinion. What's yours? For any fans of weird looking cars, this next one might be something that you'll want to perk your ears up for. Autojacker is a silver trophy that has us collect every purchasable car in the game. There are 26 different vehicles that you'll unlock and gain access to as your street cred level rises. You're also going to need to be super flush with cash to pull this one off, as buying them all will set you back an eye-watering €1.3 million. As of patch 1.05, the economy does work a little smoother and the cars have had their prices altered. You've also been given a little bit more cash as a reward from NCPD scans, gigs, and just about anything else that'll bag you some cash. But the reason it's going on the list is even with the patch and all the side content, you'll still have to do a lot of financial planning to earn this kind of money, because it's not the only thing that you buy in the game. Don't buy weapons and ammo, craft them. Don't buy armor, loot it. We're talking about looting and selling everything you see, and guns are fantastic for this. Personally for me, even at the end of the game with only a few small things left to do, I still didn't quite have the cash for the most expensive of the bunch. This hideous thing. Imagine paying to drive this. Another caveat to this is that you'll need to reach street cred level 50 to be able to unlock all of the cars. It's not a terrible thing, as this alone will bag you a trophy Legend of the Afterlife, which is silver, but it is a lot of prerequisite work for the ability to be able to buy cars, is it not? Alright, so we're going to become our own superhero for this next trophy. Rough Landing has us perform a superhero landing that either kills or incapacitates 2 or more enemies at once, and yeah, it's another one of those "this is how you have to play the game" trophies. This one is a little bit more sinister. You see, you'll need to be in berserk mode to even perform the superhero landing, and to do that you'll need the right mods. You have 2 ways of getting these mods. Way number 1, purchase them from a Ripper doc for around €45,000, which is not cheap, especially when you have to keep in mind the previous trophy, and money is something that we have to be wary of. The second way you can get this is by completing the game. You'll be rewarded with some mods when you reload the game, but they're not great. They are enough to get this job done, but they're not great. After that, you'll need to make sure that you have at least 18 points in the body attribute to even go into berserk mode. Annoying, again, I know. What if I didn't want to build body points? I mean, that's a lot to ask for. So becoming a superhero has its obstacles, but once you've got that out of the way, it's time to actually do this. Firstly, you'll need to be as high as you possibly can above a group of enemies. Whilst the trophy only requires you to kill 2, I'd recommend trying to find a larger group of enemies just to try and edge your bets. Now all you have to do is activate your berserk, jump down onto them, hoping and praying that this time it works. A quick note though, make sure that when you've found the place that you feel comfortable and you believe that you can do this, you've quick saved the game. That way, if you don't get it, you can just reload and retry. It's cheap and dirty, I know, but it gets the job done. It's also a really finicky trophy as well, so even when you clearly down more than 2 enemies, sometimes it just doesn't pop. Keep trying, it does eventually, and try not to put too many controllers through the window when you undoubtedly will feel cheated by this one. So it's time to find out what irked me the most when platinuming Cyberpunk 2077, a trophy that I'm sure if you've already played this game, you'll know what I'm about to say. Frequent Flyer is our most wanted villain for today. Find all of the fast travel data terms. Again, as of patch 1.05, there are now 160 of them that you have to find, and you have to find all of them for the trophy. They'll pop up as a little blue icon on your map when you need them, and you don't actually have to interact with them, so at least that's something. But figuring out which ones that you have and which ones that you don't is no easy task when you've got a map that looks like this. I hope you like spot the difference puzzles, because you're going to be doing them for a while to figure out which ones that you've missed, and you will have missed them because doing all of the main story and the side quests and the NCPD scans and everything like that, it still doesn't take you everywhere on the map. Of course, there'll be the obvious ones floating around on the outskirts of the world that you might have missed. They're the easy ones, but I can almost guarantee there'll be at least 2 or 3 that you've missed, and that'll be right slap bang in the centre of the game world. How did we miss them? That is a question for wise men of another era, but finding out which ones you have missed here and now, well, it's going to have you feeling like some sort of CIA satellite analyst or something. I mean, I had screenshots and printouts having me look like this dude for a while before I figured out that I was being blind and it was one of the ones on the outskirts, so I mean, it just goes to show that I'm not that smart. Jokes aside, it's a lot of work to go through for the sake of unlocking fast travel points. There's absolutely no reason that this many should exist in a map of this size. I mean, it's not all that big in the grand scheme of things. Then, tying a trophy to unlocking all of them is just the cherry on top. So for that reason, and that reason alone, Frequent Flyer is the worst trophy in Cyberpunk 2077. So another video, another game, another set of bad trophies named and shamed. Guys, I just want to thank you all who made it this far in the video. I'm a trophy hunter and I love sharing my experiences with other trophy hunters. None of it is to be taken too seriously, but I really do appreciate your time. Don't forget, this is just an opinion, your results may vary. Let me know down below in the comments what your worst trophies were in Cyberpunk 2077, and if this is your kind of thing, don't forget, subscribe and we'll go look at some other bad trophies together. Thanks for watching. I don't know what's coming next, but I'll see you when it's there.